Throughout the year of my practical musicianship lectures, I have learned a lot. We have covered a lot of genres and learnt a lot of different techniques that have benefited us all. Our practical musicianship lectures this year have consisted of us reading about the genre before our lecture and writing a couple of paragraphs on what we have found out. We would then discuss this with the rest of the class and our lecturer Rob. Then Rob would go on to show us loads of examples of that particular genre so we could learn further about it and make notes if we needed to. I found this beneficial because it really helped me understand the genre more, and then it would help a lot with the songs that I chose, and I felt I could give more of a performance. Our last part of the lecture would be performing a song of that genre. Some weeks we would get given or choose a group piece to work on. We would then take in turns to get up and perform, and then Rob would give us feedback to help us. In this presentation, I would be talking about different genres that we have covered, the feedback that I have received, and if I have taken it on board, and see if it's improved my singing in any way. I will also talk about what my warm-up technique is, our technique lessons we have had in our lectures, the assessment and how I prepared for it, as well as how it went, and finally I will self-evaluate myself and talk about what I have improved on and what I need to improve on, ready for my final year. First, I will go through the genres we have covered this year. The first genre we covered was blues, where we got given the song Hound Dog by Big Mama Thornton. This week wasn't my favourite, as I was so used to the version that Elvis had done, and it was hard for me to get the timings and phrasings right on the vocals, as they were very different in Big Mama Thornton's version. My feedback on this song was to sound angrier and be really rough with the vocals, as this would help bring the message through across in the song. The next week we covered jazz. Jazz was my least favourite out of all the genres, as I don't really like the music genre as a whole anyway, but was willing to give it a try. We got to pick the song for Jazz Week. I picked Don't Know Why by Norah Jones. This wasn't classed as jazz, as it was more contemporary jazz, and Rob wanted more of a classic jazz song. For the third week, we moved on to rock and roll. For this week, we got given a song by our lecturer Rob. The song was Jailhouse Rock by Elvis. For this song, we didn't all get up individually and sing it. We all stood in a circle and all had a verse each instead. My feedback for this was really positive. Rob liked that I gave it a lot of power and kept the lines short and snappy. We then moved on to doo-wop, where we were given a task of organising a doo-wop song for the lecture to perform to Rob. Unfortunately, we suffered a lot of illness in the class, so we won't be able to perform it. The next week was barbershop. This was the hardest week in terms of vocals. We were again given a task of working together and getting a song ready to perform. The song we had chosen was Sandman by the Cordettes. We had a few more people turning up to practice so we could have a good go of it. After barbershop week, I really admire what they do as a group, and I didn't realise how hard it would be. However, we still had a good go, but only managed to do the verse and chorus. Soul was our next genre on the list. The song I picked to sing was Hold On, I'm Coming by Sam and Dave. I enjoyed this week as I liked the song I was singing and felt like it suited me. My only feedback on this song was when I hit the high notes, I shouldn't stretch my neck out, as it also stretches the vocal cords, which restrains them from hitting the high notes I needed. The next genre we covered was musical theatre. The song I chose for this genre was If My Friends Could See Me Now from the musical Sweet Charity. I really enjoyed performing this song as I felt like it showed my personality. It's a big song and there are a lot of words with it, so the feedback I had was to get more breath, so when I got to the end of the phrase I still had a little more breath left. This would help me not to push my voice and damage it. Reggae was the next genre. This week wasn't my favourite in terms of vocals, but it was fun learning about it. I sang One Love by Bob Marley. My feedback on this song was to make it more conversational and let it flow more. For Rock Week, we didn't have time to perform a song, so we moved on to the next week, which was Folk Singer-Songwriter. For this genre, I performed Heavenly Day by Patty Griffin. I felt I had performed it better when rehearsing. However, my feedback for this was less is more and to just keep it simple with the melody lines and to breathe more when I got to the high notes. We then moved on to country ballads. I chose a country song as I am a big fan of this genre. The song I chose was Tin Man by Miranda Lambert. My feedback for this song was to have more breath to support when I went from my chest voice to my head voice. For punk, art, rock, indie and garage, we didn't get to perform a song. The last 2 weeks of our lectures were the 2 I wasn't looking the most forward to, but turned out to be the most fun. The 2 genres were dance, electronic and rap. For Dance Electronic Week, I performed What Hurts the Most by Cascada, and for rap, I performed Super Bass by Nicki Minaj. These were both genres that I had never performed before, but it was good to learn all about them and their background. For Rap Week, we got to do a roll call, which really broke us out of being embarrassed to rap and was good fun. There were only 2 genres that I missed due to illness, and they were spirituals and gospels and rhythm and blues. However, both I still made sure I did my research on. Within these weeks of genres, we had 2 vocal technique lectures. The first of the classes was all about vocal pedagogy, which is all about the science of vocal teaching. We looked at 3 types, which were Estille vocal teaching, SLS vocal teaching, and bel canto, which means beautiful singing in Italian. The ones I was most interested in were Estille vocal teaching and bel canto, and SLS vocal teaching was the one I was least interested in. We were shown videos from different people who have different types of teaching methods. We also got shown an in-depth video of how vocal cords work. The other vocal classes were a lot to do with vocal health and how not to damage your voice and how to get the best technique possible for your voice and how to lengthen the life of your voice just by singing properly. After all the genre weeks and feedback, this would then gear us up for our assessment. The assessment required us to get a 20-minute set list together and perform them at the end of the year. This year was a little different compared to last year, as our lecturer Rob wanted to allow us to perform in front of our family and friends, instead of just performing in front of him in a room on our own. Before we could do anything, I had to pick what songs I wanted. I had a couple of rehearsals on my own to figure out what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to have a mix of songs in genres and tempos. I also wanted songs that I knew I could sing well. For the first couple of rehearsals I had, there were a lot of setlist changes. I managed to try out as many songs and genres as I could to make sure I had a versatile setlist. The songs I chose were The Only Exception by Paramore, Piece by Piece by Kelly Clarkson, Fix You by Coldplay, If My Friends Could See Me Now from the musical Sweet Charity, Hold On, I'm Coming by Sam and Dave, and Gunpowder and Lead by Miranda Lambert. Once I had picked my songs for definite, it was then just a case of preparing them until they were assessment ready. When preparing it was all about taking on the feedback that our lecturer Rob had given us throughout the year. I had to make sure that for the high notes I was going to be hitting, that I wasn't stretching out my neck, because that would stretch the vocal cords and restrain them from opening and closing freely. So I had to make sure I kept my head forward, and this would then allow the vocal cords to open and close more freely and let me hit the notes I wanted to hit. I also had to make sure that I didn't have tension in my jaw, and let that be free so I could hit the higher notes as well. I had to make sure that I was breathing properly. Even if I was going to be nervous on the night, I still had to breathe, especially for the more belty parts of my songs. Once I had got these techniques nailed, it was then just a case of practicing and going over and over them until they were assessment ready. When the day of the exam finally came, I made sure I kept calm, as I tend to higher my larynx when I sing and I'm stressed and nervous. I made sure I drank plenty of water on the day and just went over my songs quietly, as I didn't want my voice to be tired for the performance in the night. Before the performance, I made sure I was fully warmed up and kept breathing. Each of the songs went really well. For 3 of my songs, I had a guitarist on them, and then performed the other 3 to a backing track. I was really happy with how everything went and how I sang each of the songs. I wish I had more breath support in Piece by Piece and Fix You for the parts where it went from my chest voice to my head voice. The musical theatre piece I thought went the best, as it was my favourite to perform, and I also made sure that I added dynamics to the song and my voice to make sure that it gave an impact on the song. Overall, I'm really happy with how this year has gone. I feel I have picked up lots of information from our lecturer Rob, who went really into detail with the genres and gave everyone in the class a good understanding of each genre. This year my favourite genres were soul, country and musical theatre. As a singer, I find it so important to keep my voice in check. I like to start most days, every day, if a performance is coming up, with a warm-up. I like to just stick to the basics, so I start off with sirens, then move on to lip trills, then hums, which I find really gets my voice nice and warmed up, and then I do I Love to Sing, and ma, me, moo, my. I then like to finish with stretches. I roll both arms back and forward 10 times each, and then roll my neck 10 times. And lastly, just shake myself out so I'm nice and loose and ready to perform. This year, I feel I have improved in confidence with each of the genres, and I am proud of myself for just having a go at the genres I wasn't too confident with, like rap and dance electronic. I still, however, feel I have a long way to go and still need to keep on top with the techniques I have been given. This I know will help me sing better and easier. I also want to keep on trying to find a balance between my soft voice and my loud voice, as I have such a big voice that sometimes I struggle to sing soft songs because my voice overpowers it. I will continue to apply all the feedback I have been given to my singing, as I know this will be really beneficial for me in the long run. Overall, I have really enjoyed this year and loved learning about all the genres in depth. My goals for next year are to keep going with my practice regime and maybe extend it. Keep on top of the techniques I have been given and apply them to my singing at all times. To know when to stop singing, as this year I have pushed my voice, which I know won't be healthy in the long run. Also, to learn about even more genres and keep exploring and listening to new music so I can add it to my catalogue. This will also help me in the future, as if I get asked to do a gig, I know that I will be able to sing those songs, and that will help me to move further on in the industry and get more jobs. I will also be keeping up with watching as many documentaries, as I have found they have helped me this year a lot, with knowing who the big artists were at the time and how the genre developed and where it originated. This also helps me get a sense of what it was like when the genre was at its peak, and also to find out when the genre was at its peak, so you can really get a sense of the time they were living in. I'm really looking forward to next year and hope to improve even more.